Rules. Who wants to know the rules for supersizing your business? Now, I want to start out with a little bit of a story. And more than that, I want to start out with a question. Are you a rule follower or a rule breaker? Do you believe that there's rules and guidelines and ways of doing absolutely everything? Do you believe that you have to always follow the rules? I'm going to just say rules set down by somebody else. Or do you create your own rules? Do you create your own rules for your business and for your industry? Are you the trendsetter and the rule creator for your industry or your business? Or are you the industry follower or the rules compliant business in your industry? Now, in certain industries, it's more or less important that there's some guidelines and rules that we have to follow. Number one, in the food industry, whether it was a rule for it or not, in my food business, we were always going to do what was absolutely 100% best and right for human beings and for the customer, because we were feeding people. And when you're feeding people, their lives are in your hands, and there are no shortcuts in that. Now, I don't think all industries believe that and follow that principle or that guideline, but I know that I always have in my businesses, especially when it's something people are consuming. If you're feeding people, you need to be really conscientious about that. That is just my belief. That's not a rule. And yeah, there's rules and guidelines that come down in that industry because everybody doesn't think that way. So my number one question for you today is, are you a rule follower or a rule maker, a rule creator? And sometimes if you're a rule creator, that means you're a rule breaker. I find as a rule that the more entrepreneurial you are, the more you go against the conventional wisdom in any industry, and you carve out and create your own piece of that industry, your own identity in that industry. I think that's why I struggled so much in corporate America. I was always this is the result we want. How are we going to get there? And I didn't really pay attention to whether there was a rule to get there or against getting there a particular way or not. And most rules are more like guidelines or mores or expected ways of behaving, especially in bigger corporations or in bigger businesses. There's a whole set of beliefs that everyone is expected silently to conform to, and you don't always know those. It depends how observant you are or not in those different cultures and those different organizations. And I often found myself at odds with that because I would go more directly to the result than following a specific corporate protocol or way of doing things. One of my most dreaded and hated sentences is, "That's the way we've always done it. That's just the way it is. This is the way we do it around here." Well, I don't know about you, but this is how we do it here. Yikes. If you're saying those things in your organization, you already know that you have an absolute gold mine of opportunity and places to improve in your business. So I could tell you stories and stories about my nonconformity and my rule breaking and the results of that. Sometimes mostly it turned out really, really well for me, which is why I adhere to the belief that we create our own rules. Sometimes it didn't work out so well. Sometimes I found myself not working for an organization anymore because I didn't fit in. I didn't follow the rules. I didn't follow the norm that everybody else did. And that was okay because it's always led me to the next opportunity and the next step on my personal journey, because that's what we're here for. So weigh in today about rules, because I would like to do a piece. One of the cool things about moving is you run across all kinds of things that you might not have remembered that you consumed and you really enjoyed before. And one of the things I ran across was a book by Dan Kennedy called No Rules, which is what's kind of, I saw it on the stack of books in my office and I thought, oh, rules, no rules. I love that because it's the whole topic of rules. Now, I do believe in principles and frameworks and guidelines, but I don't necessarily believe in steadfast rules because I know that they're all made up, right? Somebody made up all the rules with the exception of universal laws and the laws of nature. Those are things that we have to conform to whether we believe them or not. Unlike rules, rules are things that are made up by human beings to create whatever result they want. Maybe they're made up to create control. For example, speed limits. And and traffic signs and rules are made up to keep people safe, because if people didn't know what to expect from other people, you would never drive. You couldn't drive anywhere. If you didn't trust that people would stay on their own side of the road, you would never be able to drive. So there have to be some kind of rules and guidelines and mores and acceptable behavior in society. I mean, we can't go out killing one another or murdering people and just doing whatever we want. But that's beyond this. But the rules for success, for example, this is called No Rules, 21 Giant Lies About Success and How to Make It Happen Now by Dan Kennedy. Now, this book was actually written in 1997. So I'm sure I read this book in 1997 or 1998. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. I can tell by all of the underlined and highlighted things I have in it. I even had a folded over page. What does that mean? Must have been very important if I folded over the page. So if people are interested, I would like to go through some of these 21 giant lies about success, because it was a great reminder for me. And it starts out talking about positive thinking and forgetting about, can't read it. It says, forget just about everything you were ever told about positive thinking and motivation. And that is actually what sucked me into it, because when I discovered this book, I was in a big phase of personal development and positive thinking and motivation and looking for things outside of me to give me more motivation, to give me more energy to create the life that I wanted. And I didn't even know that's what I was doing back then, but I was. So that first chapter got me and hooked me in and got me, that and the No Rules got me to get the book and read the book and consume the book. And I would love to go through it, at least some of the key points and the key no rules and the giant lies and how to make success happen for you, because that's all part of supersizing our business. Our businesses only grow and supersize as quickly and as quickly as we will allow them to. That's it. Go out and make it a fantastic day. Comment below where you are on the rules spectrum. Are you a rule follower or a rule creator? That's it. I will, of course, be with you tomorrow. Bye.